Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Attacking Blues podcast. As you know, basically record the day after another win for Chelsea, a hard-fought win over Newcastle. And here we are, of course, joined is the word, joined by my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Funnell. Jimmy, how are you?
Hi, Laurenz. I'm doing good. Yeah. Great win yesterday. Hard fought. Good end to the weekend, right? A good start it was.
I guess so. Yeah, agreed. Completely agree. Of course, if you guys are new to the YouTube channel or to our podcast in general, just be sure to subscribe, drop a like on the video down below. Also do the same on Spotify and on iTunes. Leave us a good rating on iTunes if you're listening over there. That will be massively appreciated. But to be honest, there's not much more to say ahead of the podcast. So let's just get into it and speak about that 1-0 win over Newcastle yesterday. Of course, we went into it following the international break, where I know we didn't. We didn't release an episode during that simply because it was a bit dead. The only thing that happened is that we are turning into injury FC even more and more and more, which is frustrating. Multiple injuries were picked up on N'Golo Kante. Then even particularly Lampard wasn't happy. He wasn't sent back after he picked up the injury, but sat on the bench for no good reason in the second game. Even Ross Barkley apparently had some sort of knock, even though I didn't know about that until Lampard said it on Friday. Kovacic, suffered an injury. Emerson, of course, is still out. Reece James had to pull out of the under-21 squad. And Andreas Christensen picked up a hamstring injury, which will keep him out for another 2 weeks or so. So we went into the game, kind of questioning the situation, who to play, and all of that, I guess. Went into the game with a 4-3-3 formation with Mason Mount and Ross Barkley ahead of Jorginho. And then obviously the rest was kind of as you'd expect and as it has to be unchanged. Kepa, Tomori, Zuma, Alonso, Azpilicueta. And then a front three of Hudson-Odoi, Willian, and Tammy Abraham. But, the first half, strange. I wasn't particularly pleased with the first half, personally. As great as the win in the end was, the first half really wasn't good. Yes, we had still had that one or two chances, especially the Mason Mount one, which you really should take, in all honesty. Yeah. We weren't particularly good. Okay, we started off well for 2 or 3 minutes, then Ross Barkley got injured, and then everything was, went down the drain. Like, we did absolutely nothing anymore, basically, except for that chance that Mason Mount had. There was no movement. The passing was way too slow. Lampard said it post-game as well. Like, we just passed it sideways, but we weren't willing to take any risks. We just tried to play across the wings. They doubled up on Hudson-Odoi. They doubled up on Willian. And then what do you do, really? We weren't willing to try through the middle because, obviously, Newcastle sat deep in their 5-4-1 block, which, of course, made it very difficult. But what can you say? It was
that tackle. That tackle Alonso did. That could have been a red, if you ask me. Yeah, I'm completely honest.
I mean, I think if he got sent off for it, I would have been a bit annoyed because he clearly still went for the ball. It wasn't too far off getting it, and he didn't actually hit the guy badly. But the intent was clearly not, their intent was clearly annoyed about not getting the free kick, which annoyed me in the first place because he receives the ball from Jorginho in acres of space and loads of time, didn't release it, gets tackled, lies on the ground with the ball on his belly, asking for a free kick, doesn't get it, ball's taken away from him, he jumps up and kicks the guy. What a mug. But he scored the win in the end, so what can I say?
That's true.
The whole Ross Barkley thing was really strange to me. Obviously, he picked up that injury really early on, that knock, seemed to be fine after a few minutes. And then he subbed off after 40 minutes or so. And which still wasn't confirmed, but I assume so, that the ankle injury that he suffered, which was the reason why he was subbed off, was that what happened in the second or third minute. And he plays on until the 40th. What a mug are you? Why do you not go off? How does it take you half an hour to realise maybe I shouldn't be playing anymore? Because he was completely invisible. The only thing he did was lose the ball a couple of times. Literally nothing else. And if he's injured, I'm not even going to have a massive go at him for that. What I am having a go at him for is, you need to come off. I get, players are, ambitious and they want to, keep playing and they want to help their team, whatever. But seemingly, especially with how, Kovacic played in the second half, it would have been much more beneficial to the team had he come off much earlier. At the same time, though, at least some journalists on Twitter said so, that it would have been quite a lot to ask from Kovacic if he had to come on straight away when Barkley picked up that injury. So Kovacic seemingly wasn't fully over that problem that he picked up on international duty. So maybe that had to play into it as well, why the substitution was made in the 40th and not earlier. But yeah, other than that, the first half was good. Kovacic comes on, and the second half was completely different, wasn't it?
I mean, just to that, as you already said, I understand that Ross Barkley wanted to continue because this is his first start in the Premier League for what felt like quite a long time. And, you know, he got his chance, and it was, of course, unfortunate for him to pick up an injury that early on, especially after his, it was a great performance against Bulgaria, but, you know, it was Bulgaria, yeah. But still, you know, he was confident, and that's good. I'm not Ross Barkley's biggest fan either. Like many Chelsea fans aren't. But you know, if he performs and he is playing for the badge, that one does really feel not good often, but he is. Then fine, you know, he's a good squad player in my opinion. But I don't get it why he didn't just. You know, for the long term, it would be much more beneficial for him as well if he goes off and gets that treated instead of trying to run it off for 40 odd minutes, which is ridiculous, ludicrous, because now he might be out for a longer time period. And we already have that many, though, you know, so many injuries that makes no sense. But all right. Yeah, that's the one thing. And I got to say the Mason Mount, I mean, we had a few chances where you thought he has to, you know, he should be scoring there, but the Mason Mount chance was the clearest. So I think what we saw yesterday again was for Mason Mount and Fikayo Tomori as well, who have been our rising stars. They've been these bright sparks which have been phenomenal. They are only human, and both had, for me, an average game yesterday. You know, Fikayo Tomori, there were some instances where he was brilliant again. You know, he showed his blistering pace and his great game awareness, but then he gives the ball away, you know, with his crappy pass. And that has happened frequently. In the last game against Southampton, it happened as well, if I'm not mistaken, or the game beforehand, I'm not sure. But so that just shows they still have a lot to learn, but they're young and hungry, and that's good. But you know, if Mason Mount has a average game, let's say average game at best yesterday, then that's just the way it is. But then we need others to step up, and who did step up was Callum Hudson-Odoi. Wow, you know, wow, how did we miss him the first few games? We really did. 3 assists, if I'm not mistaken, since coming back.
Four in a row.
4 in a row. Yeah, okay. My bad. Sorry, Callum. It's just great. You know, the way he moves, the way he can take on defenders, cut inside. That's something that, you know, Willian should be able to do. And I'm not bashing Willian because he has, to be fair, been playing very well recently. Not as well yesterday as he has before the international break, but still pretty good yesterday, I'd say. But Callum Hudson-Odoi just gives us this different dimension, something that we have been lacking since Hazard left. You know, he just gives it this, I'm just going to create something out of nothing moment, which no one else in this team has, apart from Hazard, who had that. But Callum Hudson-Odoi is able to reproduce that to a certain extent. So I'm really excited to see what this season brings to him and how he develops into even better player under Lampard's tutelage. So that is, for me, yesterday, that was my favourite part of that. Tammy Abraham a bit unlucky not to score. The one head against the bar, the other one he should have done better, arguably.
That thing got in there, and or do you mean the other header?
No, I meant the 2 headers, because the one header went against the bar. The second header he should have placed on target. And what you mean is that where Christian Pulisic then came on, who, big ups, he actually did very well after coming on, especially after that getting subbed off against Canada, which showed they was clearly quite distraught about that and disappointed. Can't blame him. And yeah, he did well. And, you know, Tammy Abraham can't really do much there. Yedlin was fantastic. Last-ditch tactical. Good on him. Yeah. I mean, what did you think of Christian Pulisic?
Yeah, I thought it was huge yesterday. I thought it had a huge impact. Him and Kovacic. Kovacic gave us that one step to improve for the second half. But then Pulisic coming on for Mason Mount in that number 10 role, which I thought was a very interesting and in hindsight, obviously, incredibly good decision by Frank Lampard. Because, when I saw him warming up, I was like, well, neither Hudson-Odoi nor Willian deserve to be coming off right now. The only reasonable explanation in my head would have been taking Hudson-Odoi off because we don't want to overplay him after the injury. But then he came on for Mason Mount. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I like it because, we clearly struggled with the kind of game plan that we had up until that point. And bringing on Pulisic for Mason Mount is obviously a completely different type of player. It didn't necessarily change our shape completely because once Kovacic came on, we did change to a 4-2-3-1 compared to the first half.
I think William went central then, if I'm not mistaken.
To be honest, they swapped around a lot. William was still out wide a lot, but Pulisic certainly came on as the 10. At least Lampard worded it that way as well, or at least centrally behind Tammy. But yeah, he came on and had a huge impact, and that is funny to say because he missed an absolute sitter first before we made it 1-0. When he was 1-1 with the keeper. Nah, come on, he has to score that.
You mean Pulisic now?
Yeah.
That was scored. I get why one would say he has to score that, but to be fair, it came in really, it was fizzed in, and it was a bit in his back. Yeah, and in that position, when you're really well, I think it's in hindsight, it's easier to criticize than in that moment because I rewatched that quite a few times, and I understand what you're saying, but I think it's a bit harsh to say he has to score that because it isn't easy. I'm telling you that most players would have a problem.
Easy. But he's a good player, so I expect him to score that. But I don't expect the Swansea player to score that, but I expect the Chelsea player that we paid 60 million for to score that. He didn't. It was also a decent save by Dubravka in the end. Fair enough, but still, of course, for him, fighting for that starting spot and fighting for more game time. Obviously, those are the kind of chances he should really take. But then, he played a huge part in the goal we got in the eventual winner when he, had a great piece of just turned really nicely in midfield, and that is what Lampard tried to give us when he brought us on, when he brought Pulisic on instead of Mount, to have that kind of turn behind the guy that can just turn at pace behind Tammy Abraham to just bring us forward a little bit quicker. Put in a good ball towards Hudson-Odoi, one that some people might say just happened and he didn't actually aim it for him. I'm pretty sure that he did. And then Hudson-Odoi just literally squared it to Alonso, who took a good strike to put it into the bottom far corner. But yeah, what's happened with Pulisic? Okay, he had the last one that he squared to Tammy when Yedlin just got in. Still not quite sure why Pulisic didn't just shoot. Which, I mean, some sort of unselfishness is good and just prioritizing the team and everything. But in that situation, I'm like, yeah, you probably would have been much better off if you just shot there. Both for yourself and just for the situation. Of course, he couldn't have known that Yedlin was going to get there. But still, it's just a bit of a safer situation because Abraham was a bit too close to him, in my opinion, for that pass. If Abraham was 2-3 yards further away from him, makes sense. But he was so close to him that I didn't really completely understand. Not that I'm saying, he did something wrong there, but I felt shooting would probably have been the smarter decision. But regardless, him coming on made a huge impact. He gave us pace. He gave us different types of runs because Mount really struggled with what he's usually good at, to find those half spaces between the lines because Newcastle sat so deep and, just closed those half spaces down constantly.
Yeah, they did.
And he gave us space, made space, made good runs. Pulisic, I was happy with him. And, Kovacic as well. The Hudson-Odoi, I agree with him. I agree with you that he was very good, deserved. I'm pretty sure he got man of the match in the end, didn't he? Good performance, really good performance. I mean, it's funny how Lampard, if Sarri kept saying these kind of things, people would be slating him because Lampard says, he's really good going forward. But basically, in other words, saying he does fuck all defensively. That's what Lampard keeps saying about him. And he's like, he knows he can improve. And I know he was really good going forward, but never says, he was really good. He was really good going forward, which makes sense. And he's 18. Of course, that will come. And that's not necessarily an awful criticism. It's good. It's something to work on. It's nothing bad. I completely agree with them creating something out of nowhere. Still has to work on that finishing bit, though. For some reason, for the under-21s, put up two of the greatest finishers I've seen in a while. But he obviously struggled to score in the last couple of games. Had a moment where he could have shot, but took it a bit too far and tried to go past another player. Not that that's necessarily criticism, but that's where he's not Hazard yet. Obviously, but
definitely, yeah.
And he still doesn't have a left foot. Okay, that's a bit harsh, but his left foot still needs to improve because he always cuts into his right. Like, eventually defenders will see that and just show him the outside.
Well,
Because
wait.
they always allowed him to cut.
Yeah, but I know, but it's not that easy to not allow him. Think of Arjen Robben. That guy was absolutely fantastic, even though he did every time the same thing. The thing is, even though you're prepared for that kind of movement, the trickery, because he can go to the other side as well, and the pace that he uses, it makes it just difficult. Even though you comprehend, yeah, he's going to do this, it's easier said than done. And I think that's what we've been seeing with him, because every time he does cut in against whomever, it works. And he has a bit of Arjen Robben in his style of play with that cutting in. The only difference is that he does it from the left and not from the right, as Robben did. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I think it will still continue to work brilliantly. Maybe not against the top brass of defenders, but who knows? Maybe he did last preseason, not this one, but under Sarri, one saw that he can take on anyone basically. Just two things also still in regard to Lampard. What I really love is that, even though you know this, Laurenz, and I know that you also thought that way, with Maurizio Sarri, we were fond of him, right? But one thing that he just couldn't do was play against packed defenses, or he wasn't able to implement his philosophy adequately enough, or he didn't have that much time over the season. Would have maybe taken another season, for example, to gel. We just had problems. Yesterday we played against a packed defense and it just worked. And for whatever reason that is, I'm not saying that's because
Lampard in the second half. Let's not
true, but he made some
because
he did some tactical tweaks.
Yeah,
that is
if
definitely
Barkley doesn't get injured, everything takes a lot longer to click.
Well,
because if Barkley doesn't get injured, Kovacic comes on with an hour probably, if that, and then we only have half an hour to actually do something, because with Barkley we definitely wouldn't have.
Look, it worked.
I know, but it just comes into it. And we beat Newcastle twice last year, so I don't think it's as easy to say as Sarri couldn't beat a defensive side.
This wasn't a critique of Sarri.
I know, but
we had problems at last season where we weren't able to play against packed defenses. That's how they got us, and we weren't able to find any way to overcome that barrier. Yesterday we did, and actually, it wasn't like in a lot of the games last season where it was just a brick wall and nothing happened. But really, we had chances as well, even though there weren't a huge amount of them. But we did come to chances, and Newcastle isn't a bad side, even though they're made out to be one. But we did that. We got the job done. That was great. And also, because there's these stupid discussions about Mason Mount on Twitter, and also with Christian Pulisic, like Mount being fielded instead of him, even though some say Mount isn't good, blah, 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 all that. What really is the point is yesterday Mount wasn't performing as well as he has done. Lampard saw that, and he didn't, see him as the prodigal son that he always has to stay on, like some people think or say he does, which is bullshit. No, he took him off. It worked. As you said already, the shape was better. The runs were just better. We were more agile. That just worked. Whether injuries prior led to that, it doesn't matter. He made the decisions, he made the substitutions, and it worked. And I thought that was good. Barkley injury, okay, but still it worked. And I think one has to credit him at least a little bit here for that. And I'm happy with that.
I agree. I agree with praising Lampard for what happened yesterday. What I didn't agree with is with the statement that we had a huge problem against Sarri and never found a solution, because otherwise we wouldn't have finished third. Because if we couldn't beat down anyone that played very defensively against us, which is half the league, or at least a third of the league, we wouldn't have finished third. So I don't agree with that. Maybe we struggled sometimes more, but then you watch the first half yesterday and it's the same thing. And also, their styles are very similar in a lot of things, not in everything, of course, but in a lot of things. So compared to Conte, Sarri kind of taught them a lot of things that they use now, while Sarri had to teach them everything that they use now because they didn't know before. So I think it's a bit easy to say, oh, Lampard knows better how to play against defensive side. I know that's not exactly what you said.
I'm not. I said I'm not saying that Sarri didn't contribute to us being as good as we are now. I think he laid the foundation for that. But the fact of the matter is, us coming third or not, because that also had a lot to do with other sides struggling. Come on, let's be honest here.
Yeah, but we still scored enough points.
I know, but the thing is,
but
the point is, we did struggle against packed defenses last season, and we weren't able to score.
But we struggled yesterday. That's my point.
Yes, but in the second half, also in that one, has to say we did also come to some chances in the first half. For example, the Mason Mount chance, which should have been 1-0.
Yeah.
And that is something I loved Sarri, and I still think Sarri ball could have worked at Stamford Bridge. But, when it didn't work against these packed defenses last season, then we didn't actually even get a bloody single shot on target. We just weren't able to penetrate them. But that also had to do with the LCM, which was important, being Mateo Kovacic, for example, or Ross Barkley, and that just didn't work.
Yeah.
That's fine. And, I'm not slagging off Sarri for that. I'm just saying we had problems. And I'm also not saying that Frank Lampard's found the ultimate solution to those problems. But yesterday he did. And it's good to see that was able to be overcome. That's what I'm trying to say. It could have been a fluke. I don't know. Lucky shot. Maybe. But, I don't care. As long as we win by the finest of margins, through a because of a dirty goal or a handball which wasn't seen, I don't care. It's all about Chelsea winning. And
I agree with that. With that. I don't know. I was just getting at that. There's differences that are, okay. There were certainly halves where we didn't have shots on target. It's not like we went entire games on the side without having a shot on target. And when I look at Tammy winning 2 headers from a corner, also the set piece deliveries are now better with Mount than they were last season.
Oh, but God, still, yeah.
We had a striker that won 2 headers inside the box from a corner. And the second one, that's why I don't necessarily agree with people and what you said earlier that he should do better on that one. The guy was pulling his arm down. I thought he did well to even get to that in the first place. But it doesn't matter in the end now. But I was happy with that. So that is a huge difference. Neither Higuain nor Morata. Morata was good in the air, but not at corners, because he would never get there. And Giroud obviously never does, because he always mistimes his jumps. He does, though.
Giroud hate never stops.
Now, to be fair, I will say something. If Giroud came on yesterday, I would have understood and accepted that. Obviously, had we not made it 1-0 at that point, because then I'm sure he would have come on.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa,
because I don't think my try would have had much points to it. But yeah, that's all I'm saying. And things like you said, the LCM situation is of course different. And Lampard, what I will give him credit for, is more adaptable. Did change the formation, even though Sarri is now playing a 4-3-1-2 at Juventus, which I've never seen him do before, which is interesting. But fair enough. Maybe if he would have tried that, fans would have been less annoyed. But it is what it is. And Lampard did change it around, and it did work. And I just want to highlight a couple of people that I thought were really good. Of course, you mentioned Mason Mount and Tomori, who I think were the standout, not so good performance, alongside Alonso, who had an absolute shocker but scored the winner. Like, he was so bad for the entire game. It was like he was on a different time zone to Hudson-Odoi. That's how different their minds were working in that game. Literally. Hudson-Odoi played a great through ball. Alonso stood there like, what do you mean? That was for me. And then the other way around, Hudson-Odoi makes a run and Alonso plays a short ball. I'm like, what? What was he doing? I don't understand. And defensively he struggled as well. Aspi was at least somewhat decent defensively. Didn't do much, especially first half going forward. Was better second half as well. But Alonso, shocker with the winner, so I can't complain. Tomori had a couple of dodgy passes at the moment. He already did against Southampton. That couple of dodgy passes where he's just like, he doesn't seem calm enough. He doesn't seem to give his brain the time, or his brain doesn't see what it needs to see sometimes. But he managed to make up for it, and that comes with experience. I mean, the kid's 19. So, that is fine. But he didn't have his best game yesterday. Zuma, I thought, coming to the players that I was happy with, Zuma I thought was really good yesterday.
Really improved. Yeah, he was really shaky the first few games where you thought, oh my God, he's just so low on confidence. But he's adapted well. He's been able to benefit from Christensen being out and Rudiger, unfortunately, being out again. I think that's brilliant. I'm still pretty certain, I don't know about you, Laurenz, here, but I'm still pretty certain that one of the defenders that we have will be leaving next season, and that we're going to get some central defender in. Call it a hunch. I don't know why. I just think that one of them isn't going to be here. And I think Zuma's making a good claim for for staying. I don't want to see Christensen leave, but I just have this feeling that we're going to get this top tier central defender in, even though I believe we could stay with the ones we have now. But
depends on what we want to challenge for. If we want to challenge for the league, not 100% sure. But I agree. I wouldn't be sure which one to get rid of, to be honest, because they all have their pros and cons, I guess.
Exactly.
So I guess that is that. Jorginho, first half he was decent, not great, but second half he was outstanding again. Like Jorginho's levels of performances in the last few weeks have been remarkable, honestly. How he dictates everything. Of course, Kovacic coming in next to him helped him because Barkley and Mount in front of him obviously gives him a lot less solidity around him because they're both more attacking. And that is not a criticism of either of Mount or Barkley nor Jorginho. That is just simple matter of fact. It's like if you put Messi in goal, you're not going to save as many as if you put Ter Stegen in goal. It's just normal. So, that was not a criticism, but Jorginho, really good second half, was very, very happy with him. Willian struggled a bit first half. Again, very good second half, I thought. Really, really impressed. His work rate is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't understand about his work rate, especially at least it's seeming like he won't extend his contract and just leave next summer, which is usually the opposite of when players start working ridiculously hard. But fair play. I mean, maybe he will change his mind. Maybe Chelsea will change their mind on the whole contract situation. I wouldn't mind it if he plays like that. Rather get rid of Pedro because I don't see us buying two hugely expensive wingers next summer. So if we get rid of Pedro and we just keep Willian and then buy a winger, then we still have the number of wingers that we need. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But if he keeps playing like that, I ain't complaining at all. And tell me, like you said earlier, just a bit unfortunate. But Zuma, Jorginho, Willian and Hudson-Odoi were the ones that I wanted to pick out, alongside the two that changed the game, of course, in Kovacic and Pulisic. Unless there's someone else you want to pick out.
Well, just to say that on Willian, I think on the other podcast, someone mentioned something which is quite fitting of him. Willian's always been okay when he's been the main man, so to speak. I mean, I don't think he's the main man in this side, but I think he believes he is now that Hazard is gone, as he was at Shakhtar, and when he starts. That's just something where Willian thrives and thinks, okay,
also,
bam, he puts in the work and everything. And I don't know if that's... I've always had a problem with his attitude. And, with this...
Didn't have that yesterday.
Didn't have that yesterday, and he hasn't had it the last few games because he's taken up this senior main man role in the squad or in the starting 11 and has been able to start every game without competition, really, because Pedro's been dreadful.
That is another thing. Why was Pedro not on the bench? Why would we have two strikers on the bench? That is strange.
Well, that's a good question. But maybe Lampard was thinking here, hey, I could theoretically, if things wouldn't have worked out, maybe he would have wanted to go up against Newcastle with two strikers up front.
Yeah, but then you don't need two on the bench.
Well, it depends. Maybe he would have wanted to take Tammy off.
Okay,
and play with because Batshuayi and Giroud. Batshuayi is brilliant when you're playing with a second striker, in my opinion. And Giroud is the kind of guy that the sledgehammer that you bring in. Tammy will have been probably a bit fatigued because that is something that Lampard has said, that Tammy has to be able to play the full 90, and he hasn't been able to do that. So maybe that was his reasoning for that. Pedro I can't imagine that someone of Lampard's ilk would not realise that Pedro's been crap. So
still started him at the start of the season.
yeah. But maybe he wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt at the start, and give him time, a few chances, even because of his senior status. I mean, Pedro's the most decorated player in the Premier League.
Yeah,
it's really a shame that he doesn't play as well as he used to. But then again, he's 32. Can't blame him for that.
And depending on your play style, age will catch up with you sooner than
exactly.
With other. That is just that. The one thing I want to touch on, it just escaped my mind. Oh yeah, the Willian thing. I agree, although I do think at the moment he is a bit of the main man because he seems to have more freedom than the other winger. And he said that in an interview with the Chelsea website or the Chelsea app, basically saying that Lampard just keeps saying to him, I want you to have fun, I want you to enjoy it. He has more freedom now, and he can just express himself a little bit more. He has the freedom to roam around and doesn't necessarily always have to stick to the right wing, which he always had to in the last few years. And that makes sense because you can only really give one of your two wingers complete freedom. And of course, when you have Hazard in the side, Hazard gets that freedom, not Willian. And now, at least so far, Willian has been getting that freedom, which really seems to have helped him, which is also where that, not being sure who played on the right wing when Pulisic came on comes in, because they just move around and it's good. While Hudson-Odoi does stick to his left wing. Of course, cuts inside and stuff and makes runs inside and whatever, but still pretty much sticks to the right, sticks to the left wing, doesn't come too centrally. And that makes sense. If that helps Willian and it helps him perform and Hudson-Odoi still performs, I'm very pleased with that. Very pleased. It's 5 wins in a row now. It's 2 home clean sheets in a row. You can't complain. We definitely should have scored another one yesterday. Would have been a bit of a more comfortable ending to the game. But at the end of the day, as long as we win, I'm not that bothered. I'm not that bothered. I want to have good performances just because it is good for the fans, for the squad, for just the feel around to win with good performances. It's not like what you said earlier. All that matters is winning with like a silly own goal when we were completely dominated for the entire game. Yes, of course, it's good, but it's not that good because, it downs the team because they will still know they didn't play well. That kind of thing.
But the thing is, in those kind of situations where you're playing absolute crap and somehow get some jammy bastard goal, that actually really lifts you up.
Yeah, but it depends
if you're able to do it in those kind of situations, that can really, really boost morale and, be the spark that lights this fire, where you then go on to have a great run. And we haven't been playing bad. Good thing is a clean sheet again, and that's been our Achilles heel, that we have been defensively not too good. But yesterday, I thought, Newcastle with Saint-Maximin, I think his name is. The guy can be really dangerous. He's got pace, and I thought we were barely troubled. I think there was one chance that Saint-Maximin had where I thought, okay, that was close. First half. Otherwise, we kept them quiet quite well. There was a genuinely good performance by our defense, with the odd moment where Tomori, just misplaced the pass. But otherwise, Yeah,
there was a couple of moments first half that never actually ended up in chances, but really dodgy counter-attacking defending. Sometimes we picked up yellows that we didn't need to. So it wasn't like it was all plain sailing. But I agree. At the same time, Newcastle have only scored 5 goals so far this season. So they're not exactly like the most, dangerous attacking team to keep a clean sheet against. But that is doesn't matter. We kept that clean sheet and it was important. The whole playing badly and still getting the win, to me, that depends on who we play against. Like if we do it against the Liverpool or against the somewhat decent side, I completely agree. Against Lille, I was fuming just because of that first half, because of how bad it was.
This is a transition, Laurenz. This is a transitional phase.
I understand that, but I just think Lampard got it wrong. If I can praise him when he gets it right, I can,
fine.
Not slate him.
He's still learning.
I completely agree, but I was just not particularly pleased with it. And had we not won that, or had we played much, much worse yesterday, and Newcastle had 10 shots on target and we won it somehow, I wouldn't have been exactly pleased either, and I don't think the team would have been. Yes, it's still good had we won it 1-0, but it's still different doing it the way we did second half yesterday compared to being completely dominated all game long. So that always, to me personally, depends on the game, but it's good. We keep going, and now we're into, unless there's something else you want to say about the Newcastle game.
Let's move on to Ajax, I'd say.
Yeah. A really difficult away game in the Champions League, a really important away game in the Champions League as well, especially if we still want to, even consider coming top in the group. Because if we do, there's no two ways around it. We need to win on Wednesday in Amsterdam. If we are fine with finishing second, getting a point there, I would be okay with. I would be happy with. But it's a difficult game. It could not be more different from the game against Newcastle. It literally could not, of the type of opponent we're facing. Like the way of his a 5-4-1 that Newcastle lined up in and just defended, their lives away almost, and kind of made it difficult for themselves to attack because whenever they got the ball, they had about 70 yards to cover to get to a goal. And Ajax are not going to be like that. Ajax are going to press. Ajax are going to play quick football. Ajax are going to get at us, and it will be really. For me personally, it will be really, really interesting how we try to counter that. Whether we will try to all right, looking at the Champions League last season, also you lost 2 of your best midfielders and your best centre-back. Looking at you last season, no one really went toe-to-toe with you. Even Spurs didn't somehow got through there, but Spurs didn't. Everyone was kind of just scared of what they did because no one really understood how they were that good in a sense. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not sure whether we're capable of it, but I would be really intrigued to see if we were just like, yeah, we were just going to do the same thing you are, unless he was better at it. But they would probably be better at it. But it would still be interesting. And say Lampard went as bold and literally started Pulisic against the 10. Like, that would be insane, but it would be really, really bold. And it would be kind of fascinating. Because against Ajax, for example, I think Pulisic would be really good. Because, you know, they're a very pressing and attacking team. So there's space to run in behind into. So that is literally what Pulisic is best at. But I can't wait for the game. Obviously, I'm going to the game as well. Really
Lucky bastard.
Yeah. Like, tactically, it will be really interesting to see what Lampard goes. But then the injury situation, of course. You know, Kante is presumably still going to be out. So that makes me think, okay, well, the defensive approach won't work then. Because without Kante, we're not very good at defensive.
I think what's important against Ajax is that what you just mentioned with Pulisic being pretty good in that game. I think will be the, I don't want to say the death of us, but what could really hurt us is if we don't try and going really taking the challenge to them. I mean, I actually believe that if we draw against them in Amsterdam, that will still be good, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
As long as we win every other game, you know, in Valencia and the other 2 home games against Ajax and Lille, then I think we can still top the group.
Really?
But I think we could, you know, if Ajax, you know, slips up once, then sure, we could theoretically, but realistically, of course, we need that. Yeah, I understand that. I think the worst approach will be to, for example, start Barkley against Ajax, because if you're too slow on the ball, you need that extra second. They'll absolutely rip you a new one. And I think it's imperative that Christian Kovacic starts, for example, with Jorginho, because he can hold on to the ball and he can carry it forward. Ram Srenovas spoke about these stats for carrying the ball up the pitch with Kovacic, and he's been the best in the league this season. Yeah. You know, he is fantastic with that, and I think one can really need that against Ajax. I'm a bit worried if we start with Alonso, because
I really hope that Emerson is fit in time. There is reports he was in full training last week, and there was, you know, things were said that he would be left out of Newcastle, but then possibly he could feature against Ajax, which would be huge.
Against Ajax, yeah, and I think that's also. I completely forgot to jump on that, what you said, because I agree with what you refer to in the Newcastle match, that Marcus Alonso and Callum Hudson-Odoi, they didn't click. It just kind of didn't click, you know, because every time when Alonso tried to do something, Hudson-Odoi was on a different wavelength, while I think with Emerson that would work much better.
Yeah.
And if those 2 were to start against Ajax, that would give us the best chance of winning, or, you know, getting the 3 points, no matter how, against Ajax.
Although I will admit, I am a little bit scared that Frank Lampard is going to go 3 at the back, simply because he wants Aspie in the team, but doesn't want him at right back. So he starts 3 at the back and starts Aspie and Reece James, because I want Reece James in this game. But then if you just thought about it, a team of Kepa, James, Zuma, Tomori, Emerson, just that back 5, if you will. I understand why one wouldn't want to start that, just because there's literally no experience at all in that. Okay, Zuma has done this couple of things, but went to bloody Stoke. Yes, Everton, but still,
he did well at Everton, to be fair.
No, he did do well at Everton, but I'm saying experience-wise, it's not that huge. So I would understand why he wouldn't want to do that, but at the same time, I don't want Azpilicueta at right back against David Neres if he starts on the left wing. So it is a tricky one. Hence why I'm a little bit scared about him starting 3 at the back, because I don't want to see that.
The problem is, if we do go 3 at the back, I mean, in the middle,
you immediately.
Yeah, well, it depends. You know, if we play with a 3-5-2, but you need width against Ajax, so we'd lose that. We'd lose that unless we have phenomenal wing backs, which I don't think we have at the moment. I mean, Reece James is fantastic, but he hasn't played in a 3 at the back, if I'm not mistaken. You know,
he did in Lille.
He did in Lille, I know, but he hasn't played often in this kind of setting. Yeah. And, you know, Lille, as good as they are, with no disrespect to them, it's a completely different caliber in Ajax, and they will really punish you. Ziyech, and Tadic and who they all have, Neres, they will punish you. And I don't know. I'm also skeptical about a 3 at the back there, but I'm sure Frank Lampard will have a plan. Of course he will. And then I just hope he's able to adjust. Well, yeah, exactly. We have to see. But hopefully he's just able to adjust. You know, I just love coaches which are able to show such great in-game management that they adjust to situations and then they turn the tide. That is what makes or breaks a good manager for me. Yeah. And why I think actually Guardiola is a bit of a one-trick pony in some. I know it's disrespectful to him because he's a fantastic coach, but I don't think he's as adaptable as others are. And you know, I hate to say it, but Jurgen Klopp is pretty good when it comes to adapting. I don't like Klopp as a person much, but you know, no, I don't. No, because I think he's a bit of a ha 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 ha, but he can be a real bastard. I can remember in Mainz, and Dortmund was the same at the end. I don't like Jurgen Klopp as a person. I don't. I like that he boycotted the Sun because anyone who does that is a good person in my books. But but nevertheless, he was able to adjust better as in game than Guardiola. I mean, Guardiola is also able to do it, but he still has the same philosophy that has to stay in place. Similar to Sarri, you know, even though Guardiola is far more adaptable than Sarri. That one I really has to say. Sorry, we're getting off track here. Anyway, point being, I hope Frank Lampard is able to, you know, react appropriately. He has been able to do that recently. So let's do predictions. I'd say because, I mean, also lineup wise, because I think that we're going to draw here. I think a 1-1 is going to be the case. Maybe a 2-2, but I'm going to go with a 1-1.
Yeah, I'll go 2-2, and I just really hope that Lampard is bold. Maybe not as crazy bold as going with Pulis against the 10, but still bold. Like, please don't go with the back. Like, I could be wrong, but I've not been wrong so far when we played 3 at the back. It was just shocking every single time, especially that first half against it was giving me nightmares still.
Against Wolves, that was the one game it worked.
But they also play 3 at the back. That is different.
I know, yeah. But I mean, that's what it worked.
Yeah, no, you're right. But still, I just hope to God no, because I don't see a 3-5-2. He's not done that yet. I don't think he will do that. That would surprise me anyway. If he does, I would possibly have to change my mind or just see how that goes. But in a 3-4-3, you can't give up midfield against Ajax. Like, you cannot. That is where you win and lose a game against Ajax in midfield. And like, especially without Kante. But even with Kante in a 2-man midfield, we cannot win that battle. We couldn't in Lille. How could we possibly do it in Ajax or against Ajax? So I hope he just goes bold and tries to just play their football. Like, if we get smashed off the park, all right, is what it is. All right, not like 6-0 smash off the park. But if we lose, we can still, you know, it is what it is. We can still come second if we lose. But I would just like to go for that win. And I don't know. I just don't want to go there and just like, all right, let's just try to be cautious, because I don't think that works against Ajax. I think they showed that last season.
I don't think Lampard will do that. He'll be aware of that. He's he's a coach that really does prepare, and I think he will try to go to a certain extent head to head. But yeah, I don't know. Now that you mentioned it, I think he will go with 3 at the back, because that is the cautious approach for him.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me question that what you just said is the fact that against Lille, he said, their attackers are so quick, they're so dangerous on the counter attack. Hence why I went 3 at the back, which is the only reason why I'm like, just don't let them counter attack. Don't solve the problem by defending. Solve the problem by attacking better, which is the approach that a Klopp, a Guardiola, and a Sarri would take in that game. But like you said earlier, it is still learning, and you know, I wouldn't say I'm overly confident, but you know, I'm also happy with the draw, and I'm pretty confident that we can get a draw there. So.
It's working at the moment. So, I mean, I've been very pessimistic this season when it comes to results, but it is working at the moment. So why not try and aim high? I want us to win, don't get me wrong, but I think it's going to be a draw, and that would be a good result against Ajax. You know, I think people are underestimating Ajax still, despite last season, and are saying, this is a must-win. It's not a must-win. This is a fantastic young side. And Eric Den Haag, if I'm not mistaken, that's how you pronounce him, is a really good coach for that team. And he will also find out your weaknesses, and he'll be perfectly aware of where our weaknesses lie. And a draw would be a great result. You know, Of course, we want to win the group, but we have to stay realistic. You know, this is a young team, and a lot of them don't have any Champions League experience whatsoever. You can't expect them to immediately shine on the biggest of stages.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So yeah.
It is. I mean, Ajax, the Valencia game did flatter them a little bit because they scored 2 absolute screamers and Valencia missed a penalty at 1-0. So if Valencia takes that, scores that penalty, it's a completely different game. And we're not sat here with them having scored 6 goals in 2 games and being on 6 points with 2 clean sheets. So, and they're not quite the same as they were yesterday. I'm sure they have improved since then. But when I watched the Champions League qualifier against Nicosia, very early in the season, especially the away leg, they were shocking. Like, they were really, really lucky to get a 0-0 in that away leg and obviously won 2-0 at home to get into the Champions League, which is crazy anyway. They're the semi-finalists has to do qualifiers. But still, so they were really poor in that. Of course, I'm sure they will have adapted more to not having De Jong, to not having Lasse-Schöne, to not having De Ligt, to not having these players. I'm sure they will have adapted to it more so than they did in August, obviously. But still, they did lose 2 or 3 of their best players. So I still don't think they're as good as they were last year, because that would make sense.
Probably not.
And just would be illogical. But that doesn't mean they can't beat us. So, but yeah, I don't have anything else to add. So, if you want to see
prediction for the lineup, let's do prediction for the lineup because I think that'll be quite intriguing.
Yeah,
you start because you already had a few.
True. Yeah.
Punches.
Do you want me to go with what I think Lampard will do or what I would do?
Both.
Okay. Well, I think he will keep Aspie in the side. But I would personally be as bold and starting Reece James and not starting Aspie.
Okay. Wow.
Of the centre-backs, we don't really have much to choose from anyway. Wow. So it has to be Zuma and Tomori. I hope Tomori is fine with his head. I mean, he played on the last few minutes, but I hope there's no minor concussion things going on. And I hope Emerson can start. If he doesn't, obviously it has to be Alonso anyway, but I hope Emerson can start. So that would be my back 5, obviously Kepa and goal. I don't think Kante will be fit. So, I mean, you'd have to probably go 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. It's similar anyway. We kind of usually play a mix of the two anyway. Yeah. So, Jorginho, Kovacic, Mount, I would say. I don't think, and I wouldn't be as bold as trying to start Pulisic where he played when he came on yesterday. Although I would find it fascinating. Even I wouldn't be as bold, and it's not even my head on the line, so even I wouldn't be as bold. And then the rest, I think personally, you have to keep the same. You have to keep Hudson-Odoi in there. You have to keep Willian in there. And even if Tammy missed a couple and should have done possibly slightly better, just has to stay in the team. Someone said to me on my live stream on Blues TV yesterday that Giroud should start against Ajax. I could not think of a worse idea than starting Giroud against Ajax.
No, I agree.
As much as anyone likes Giroud, you cannot think that that's a good idea against Ajax. If Tammy doesn't start, it has to be Batshuayi, but it should just be Tammy Abraham. And I just hope that goes well, really. What's your prediction? Or lineup prediction?
I agree with the Giroud thing. I like Giroud. I know that you have a fierce agenda against him, but no, I love Giroud as a person. I think he's one of those last leaders we have in the dressing room. But against this game, that would be an ill fit. No question about it. That would make very little sense unless Lampard sees something that we're missing. Okay, but that's that. I couldn't see him starting. That wouldn't make any sense. But Kepa in goal is a standard procedure nowadays. I mean, unless it's a League Cup or FA Cup game, it's not going to be anyone else. At the back, as you said, centre backs, nothing's going to change there. Emerson, if he's able to start, great. But then again, I don't want to risk him because he has to be back for the rest of the season at all costs. Even though Alonso has been good recently, don't get me wrong, but still we need 2 healthy left backs. So I'd actually
agree training as well, to be fair. So you would assume he's okay.
I think I'd have to agree with you. I think I would start Reece James over Azpilicueta, but I think that would never happen in 1,000 years because he will want experience. And even though, we have a very young back line with the centre-backs in there, I don't think he's gonna not start Azpilicueta.
If he had Rudiger, he might do.
He might, yeah.
Rudiger, I don't think he will.
No, he won't, no. And in midfield, same. Has to be Jorginho, Kovacic, and Mount. You know, there's no other choices anyway except Ross Barkley
And we don't even know if he's fit with the ankle injury.
Exactly, and you know, N'Golo Kante. I mean, I would start him.
I wouldn't, even if he's fit. I wouldn't. The guy needs to be it's ridiculous at this point. How much?
I mean, if he had no injury problems, I would start him in this game, but don't risk it. No, absolutely no point. We're going to need him for the fixtures that are going to come thick and thin in the future. So definitely don't start him here. And Kovacic is perfectly fine. I don't know why people have been going on about him, you know, not being as good as people are making him out to be. I think he's been phenomenal this season for his standards and what we expected from him.
Except he's very good.
Yeah, but you know, we've got other outlets to score those goals this season, which we didn't have last season because our wingers just weren't, not even Hazard to a certain extent. But anyway, point being, up front, this is going to be interesting now because I actually would go with Michy Batshuayi. Really? Don't ask me why. I just think that we need someone who's quick. Not that Tammy Abraham isn't quick and he has this presence, but I think we need to, against this Ajax team, we need to run in the channels, and Michy Batshuayi can do that quite well. Not that Tammy Abraham can't, as said, but I think that would just work well. And I don't want to burn out Tammy Abraham. And I think with Callum Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic starting on the wings, that will work really well if they give him the service that he needs. That will be my front three. I'm sure many won't agree with that, but I think that will work.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Interesting shout. I just like the thought of Pulisic just coming off the bench and being an impact sub at the moment. Did well against Southampton in that, did well yesterday in that. And if he can do that against Ajax, bring his extra pace, whether he comes on for a winger or whether he comes on for Mount again, I don't mind. But if he can just be an impact sub that can make a huge difference, I'm very, very pleased with that. And we both know that Willian isn't good coming off the bench. So.
No, that's true, yeah. Maybe he'll get Pedro on, you don't know. But...
please no.
Fair enough, but I think he deserves it.
Than I do against Giroud.
Yeah, no, I know, but I think Pulisic deserves to start.
Yeah,
I know this is a very, very important game, but I think he has what it takes to start against Ajax, in my opinion. But
fair enough. But yeah, I think that's it for today.
I think that's it. Yeah, so
round it out.
I shall. Yes. So thanks. If you have made it until here, thank you for watching or listening once more. We will be back next week, hopefully, to be able to talk about 2 great wins against Ajax. And, oh my God, at the weekend, I can't remember. Who are we playing?
To be honest, I don't know. I will check. Well, you just keep doing your outro, I will check.
And those blokes at the weekend. So, yes, that's all from us. Please do subscribe, as Laurenz already said at the start of the video. Give us a follow on Twitter. Give us a good rating on iTunes. We really, really would appreciate it. And we're very thankful for all your support and all the listeners that do tune in every time we upload. We really, really do love you. That's all from us. As always, keep the blue flag flying high. Let's get 3 points and up the Chelsea.
And we'll see you after Burnley away.